I'm pretty sure it's not the first time where you have probably seen on the news or in some kind of nationwide network or nationwide magazine, something that reads like, parents did not want to have baby, but surrogate had baby anyways. What's the first thing that you think? We're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about the role of fertility lawyers, aka assisted reproductive technology lawyers, all the way throughout the surrogacy journey. Do they actually have to be there for you the whole time? Let's discuss that. I have to take a sip of this juice because to get my engine started, because I swear I didn't know where to start today. There is so much to say. And as you can probably notice, I'm still trying to get over the cold, so I sound a little bit weird. This morning, really quick, I tried to write a script. Two-sided, 2-page script. Because I have to just let so much out. Let's see where we're going to start here. When you give or when you sell a story to a nationwide network, nationwide magazine, not like giving a report to a local news channel, for example. But when you do that, when you go nationwide about it, they go big about it too. And you should know better. You should know they will. Some people don't know the first time. Yeah, but after that, please don't make the same mistake, because they're going to twist it. They're going to spin it. They're going to add. They're going to subtract just to get people to click on it. So you know how it goes. When I haven't said any names. When you go on social media, you might see like a big picture with like big captions, very sensationalized, you know? Just like I said before, intended parents did not want to have baby, but surrogate had it anyway. So of course you're going to see in the comments people saying stuff like, oh, how disgusting, you know what the surrogate should do? She should actually keep the baby and get child support from them. And then you're going to get other comments like, oh, just surrogates or women should just stop renting their wombs altogether. Those are the kind of ignorant comments that you're going to get. And you're going to get hundreds of thousands of them. And guess who's going to maybe look like a fool? All the parties involved, including the surrogate, the intended parents, the lawyers involved, everybody. Not the network, because the network is the one that gets. What an introduction. Welcome to That's Just Tara. This is Tara's mom, Melissa, and you're going to be able to find this video in my series, IVF, Fertility, and Surrogacy, also called playlist IVF and Fertility and Surrogacy. You're going to be able to find the link to that playlist in the description. It has a lot of juicy topics and a lot of great topics too that will help you know how to get ready for transfer and how to face certain roadblocks that can also come along during a surrogacy journey. I would love to give you a very friendly reminder about this video. This video is only for entertainment purposes only. This is not a medical source. This is not a legal source. This is not a financial entity source. This is not any kind of agency speaking. And also, this is not an informational video. This video is only based in my opinion as an entertainer, and that's it. This video also does not offer professional legal advice, does not offer professional medical advice. It is not professional mental health advice, no professional legal advice, no professional medical advice, no professional advice whatsoever. Remember, please, this is only for entertainment purposes only, and it's only my opinion. I'm going to break down little by little the different issues and the different scenarios. That way you know how they get or not get involved. Another sip, this is getting too hot. Okay, so now let's go back to when comments are based on a misconstrued interpretation of a sensationalized headline. You know, when in those comments they say, oh, you did a surrogate. Excuse me. Still trying to get over this cold. Anyways, so when the surrogates, no, I gotta delete that part. Okay, so when you hear the commenters say stuff like, the surrogate should have just filed for custody and kept the kid and asked for child support, that's very ignorant. And it's not because they want to be ignorant, it's because these networks just think about money and they don't really think about educating people. And that's the truth. And I'm going to explain to you how it works. That way you can understand and help others understand as well. You can always confirm this information with an actual fertility lawyer, okay? It's very, very important. During the contract procedure, before an embryo transfer is done, there is a part of the contract, there's a mini package for the parenting rights. And depending on the state, it could be like an adoption order, or it could be like a parental rights order. It just depends. But at the end of the day, it gets processed as transferring those rights to the biological parents once that baby is born. Or let me correct myself, to the intended parents, because sometimes donor eggs and donor sperm is used. That's a documentation that gets sent out to the court system so they can, sometimes it takes, a few months for it to get a response and finally get approved. Sometimes it gets worked out right after the baby is born. It just works differently in every state, but you have to make sure that you're prepared for it and you have done it correctly. So during the package, it is being declared that the biological intended parents, or that the intended parents that are said to have legal rights of that child, are going to be, everything is going to be organized in that document. Also, the document is going to include, in the case that those intended parents cannot take over, there is somebody that they designate, which normally it is the closest relative that they have already spoken with, that will take over and have legal custody of that baby. Okay, so it's not a random thing. It's not like if those intended parents back up, then the surrogate can actually take over and she can apply for. No. The other people that are included in that contract, in the parental rights packet, are the ones who will be getting the baby. And this is why they do this, to protect the surrogates and to protect the intended parents as well. As far as the comment, women need to stop renting their wombs altogether. As far as that goes, let me remind you guys about something. There are two types of journeys. One is compensated and the other one is altruistic. Not every journey is compensated. And you have to experience the type of loss that these intended parents have experienced, sometimes for even a decade, to be able to finally become biological parents. Because all of us are born with either a maternal or a paternal instinct, right? So yes, that's how we're naturally born. But because of our lifestyle and because of the turns that our life takes, sometimes people prefer not to have children. Sometimes people prefer to adopt if they want to have a child and they can't, biologically have it. Or because they want help They also like to adopt. But anyways, the point is that when you don't know anything about that type of loss and the pain endured to want to become a parent and all the struggles that one has gone through, then you're going to say some comments like that. Not everyone has to follow extreme religious ideologies. Okay, if there is a way that a couple or a single intended parent wants to become a biological parent, they can do it. Okay, this is why we have science, and if they can afford it, then why not? This does not happen at random. These intended parents have to be cleared by the clinic. They go through background checks, they go through psychological checks, they go through a whole bunch of checks. Social workers, everything. They have to go to their homes, etc., etc. The agencies have screened them. They have to get to know the potential surrogates before doing something so serious like this. So this doesn't happen at random like some people think. Also, surrogates don't happen to become surrogates at random. I really invite you to check out my playlist because it includes all the information about it, especially the video how the surrogacy works. That explains to you how exactly surrogates get screened. So when a potential surrogate comes forward to want to help a family, it's not because of a special interest. It's because that person really wants to help create a family. When that person has a passion to serve and contribute and make a difference and make a family's dream come true, knowing that that person is healthy in the first place, because you have to be healthy physically and healthy emotionally to be able to become a surrogate. So know that this stuff, again, does not happen at random. Whew, another little break. So refreshing, especially when you have a cold like that. Now let's get to the main point or the main story of what we see a lot of the times on those articles that you see pop up nationally. First off, intended parents can't legally just ask a surrogate to terminate her pregnancy. And this is protected by the contract. This is why it's super important that surrogates have a good advocate, not just a lawyer to help them through with that. And that's when an agency comes in. And I've noticed that a lot of surrogates don't like to get agencies because they like to rush through. But rushing through only benefits the intended parents, not you. So in some contracts, you might see two different options. And this is something that has been discussed already with a psychologist. Both intended parents and surrogates must have discussed this with a psychologist. The stuff about termination. Early termination. One way is early termination, which may be done through D&C process, right? Or early labor process. And this is only a decision that will have been made between the doctors, the intended parent or intended parents, and the surrogate because of a situation with the quality of life of the embryo or the baby. If there is something that will affect the quality of life of that baby, then it will be permissible medically if the doctor recommends it to be able to terminate the pregnancy. So this is not, this is not as easy as 1, 2, 3 as some people think, then there's also the no termination whatsoever option. And within that option, of course, it is something that the surrogate intended parents already spoke with the psychiatrist, and it is something that they already agreed upon to be drawn into the contract. And these usually happen. This is my opinion only. Remember, this is not a legal source or a medical source. It's my opinion. No termination whatsoever, in my opinion, is selfish and extreme. Okay? And I'm going to explain to you now why. A lot of the intended parents fall into this thing about no termination because the surrogates pressured them into say, oh, no termination. But why? But I'm going to tell you what's behind some of that. It's not everyone's case. Don't get me wrong. It's not everyone's case. But a lot of potential surrogates, they just want to say, oh, I finished the whole journey successfully. If it's a compensated journey, they might say, oh, I want to make sure that I get all my compensation. So they just want to force it. Or because they have these extreme religious values, they want to force it. So sometimes those intended parents feel pressured to sign off on no termination whatsoever. Be careful. Please discuss this with an attorney. But please be careful and think things through and don't rush things just because you are desperate to finally have, that dream come true. Because there are surrogates out there that have their judgment and their mind in the right position, and they know that if an early termination is necessary medically, then it should be done. And now let me tell you something here really quick. Doing no early termination, in my opinion, could end up backfiring both the intended parents and the surrogates in so many ways. You know why? Because if for some reason, it doesn't matter if your embryos tested normal. It doesn't matter if they were graded super high by an embryologist. There are things that are not detected through genetic testing and through embryologist grading. And they might not be detected even all the way to the anatomy scan halfway through. So this is what happens when you force, in my opinion, a no early termination whatsoever. Let's say something happens, something is suddenly detected, or then when the pregnancy is super advanced, that the surrogate starts going into extreme early labor or preterm labor, right? So what happens? It could happen during a moment in time where she still hasn't met the minimum amount of weeks to be compensated fully for the journey. And depending on the mindset of that surrogate, she might get a little pissed off too, because some of them wanted a full compensation. That minimum amount set of weeks, that's something that the intended parents have to work with the lawyers before drawing the contract, right? So it could end up in a very traumatic delivery depending on the complications. So the surrogate that wanted to complete by force that journey could end up having a lot of complications, could end up having a hysterectomy, and may not even be able, depending on the complications, to start another journey. Okay? And also, the intended parents would have lost all that money. You would have lost it all. Okay, so it is very, very, very important that you think things through. And this is why I'm a firm believer on early termination due to a life altering quality. So in the case of some of these stories that sometimes go viral, it's because there was a problem in the contract, or there wasn't a problem in the contract, but sometimes the intended parents want to just go against, and they can't go against a termination because there is no medical reason. You know, they could have a concern, like, oh, let's say, for example, you know, there is a pandemic going on, for example, and they're just concerned. They can't just terminate pregnancy just because of a concern. Now, if there was a medical concern, like there was a problem, a life-threatening problem with the surrogate, or a life-threatening problem with the baby, or a life-altering problem with the baby when it comes to the quality of the embryo, then once they get that recommendation from the doctor, then they can do it. But that's only if the contract says that early termination is allowed. If you agree to no termination whatsoever, that's it. And then so it's not like the surrogate can adopt the baby if she wants and get child support. No. The baby, you know, if they just want to back out, then the baby would have to go to the person that they assigned as a backup in that parenting package. In which, in that case, the intended parents will just end up saying, no, never mind, you know, we change our minds, we're just gonna keep our baby, you know. But I just think it's so ridiculous that people just want to reach out to networks, you know, just to try to make intended parents look stupid. You're gonna make yourself look like a fool for doing that just to earn a little bit of fame. That's gonna end up backfiring on you. That doesn't look good. And it makes the surrogacy community look bad. That's my opinion. I have not said any names or nothing. Whew, now I really have to take a good break. Whew. This vlog is only for entertainment purposes only. No professional advice whatsoever. It is based on my opinion, no legal advice, no mental health advice, no financial advice. No any kind of coaching, no professional advice whatsoever. This is not a medical source. This is not a financial source. This is not a legal source. This is not a medical source. No professional source whatsoever. This is just an entertainer. Again, this is not an informational video. Not an informational video. Just an entertainment video, and it's just my opinion. Now we're going to be talking about the legal engagement. How those fertility lawyers, aka assisted reproductive technology lawyers, get involved in the process from the beginning. And this is no hate to lawyers, but I'm gonna tell it like it is, because it's my little space right here, and I am just giving my opinion. Okay, remember, this is not an informational blog. This is just a little corner right here with my opinion. So from what I have seen, according to some lawyers, some states legally require that those fertility lawyers remain engaged throughout the surrogacy. But of course, you know, they have to be engaged in a way that they have to be there in the case that something arises. Don't get that wrong. Because a lot of surrogates say, oh, okay, I can do an independent journey and just don't worry about advocacy or mediating and all that stuff, because all that stuff my lawyer can do it. No, honey, that's not how it works. Anything beyond drawing the contract, interpreting the contract with the lawyer on the phone or in person, anything beyond that basic initial counsel or any other quick question that you may ask them throughout the journey, anything beyond that that requires solving an actual legal issue or real concern that cannot just be mediated among each other, all that stuff is going to be at the expense of the surrogate. Okay, you can't expect a lawyer to be picking up your phone call at 3 a.m. because you don't agree with something that a surrogate is doing or that an intended parent is doing. Okay, and I'm speaking about this more from the surrogate side, because the surrogates they get to pick their desired fertility lawyer, but who pays for it? It's the intended parents, the ones who pay for it. So yes, they do represent you into like drawing the contract, little things there, you know, not like little things or serious things. But at the end of the day, when things get ugly, if they have to be on the intended parent side, they will. Okay, so they're not just there because they're there to defend you. No. They're not there to advocate for you. They're not there to give you emotional support. No. And this is why I firmly believe, my opinion is, don't rush getting into an independent journey, because not every journey will go as smooth as you think. The agencies will be there for you to advocate for you in many situations, and I am going to list some of those right now. If you're having communication problems with your IEPs and the clinic that you guys are working with, you can't be running to the lawyer, because the lawyer is not there for that. You're on your own if you don't have an agency. But if you have an agency working with you, that coordinator will help in the most professional, in the most kind way, to be able to mediate and help make communication better. Okay, because sometimes when you're on your own, that's when friction can occur, and then the relationship between you as a surrogate, or if you wanted the parent with the other party, surrogate or intended parent, it's going to get really rough, you know. And that's why the agency steps in. And I'm going to tell you something, and I've always wanted to say this. I do believe, my personal belief is that small agencies can work more one-on-one with you than the big ones, because the big ones usually have a lot of responsibilities, and sometimes they may put a certain case in the back of the burner because they might not feel like it's just as important. But when you are dealing with a smaller agency or a beginner for an agency, you will have a one-on-one. And I also wanted to tell you something really quick about that. In my opinion, it's all my opinion. When you are searching for a lawyer, or when you're searching for an agency, you find the good and the bad, because people like to do that, you know. They like to post online the good and the bad. So you're going to find the bad in everything. Don't let that stop you from asking them directly what happened and giving them a chance. Because there's a lot of competition out there, and you're going to see a lot of people referring you to surrogacy agency reviews, online groups, but they may be biased because you don't know who the administrators are, and some things are posted and some things are deleted or not approved. Okay, just because there is a lot of competition, and this is just my opinion, okay? Go with your own gut. Don't be depending all the time on other people. Let's say, for example, when that contract is on a risk of being breached, or when you notice that they're doing something wrong, the intended parents, sometimes the contracts say, well, you know, you may have like 72 hours, something like that, to like solve the issue. If not, then you can resort to filing for a breach of contract, you know. But when that happens, you know, during that period, that's when you can use the agency to advocate. So you don't have to get to those measures, right? But when you really need the lawyer for such extreme thing, then that's when you contact them. That's when they're going to be there for you, but that's going to be at your expense, you know. You have to, anything other than the regular basic stuff, such as drawing the contract, answering basic questions, that would be your responsibility. And this is why it's so important, again, in my opinion, to have an agency to advocate for you and help mediate. And of course, before I forget, the lawyers are there to do the process of amendments in case there are going to be any changes before the embryo transfer. Then they can work on the amendments too. But I am not sure whether you would have to put any costs into it, or to the parents, or whether it's already included. I'm not sure about that, but they're also there for you for amendments, of course. I think I have kept you long enough here today, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But before you go, I want to thank you so much for hanging out here with me today. Thank you so much. And if you found this video, opinion-based video, valuable, hit the like, hit subscribe for more videos like this. Have a wonderful day. Bye.